All right, folks, now that we got this carburetor off the bike finally, let's get this thing broke down and get it into the ultrasonic cleaner. So the first thing we're going to take off is the choke plunger. This is a 14 millimeter. You want to just take your wrench, loosen that guy up, and now the whole unit just comes out of there. And what happens with these, if we pull this back, see, now it stays up, but what happens with these is they have a little plastic piece inside of there that has these little prongs, and boom, after time they don't stay. See these little pieces of plastic right here, they're little prongs, and they just hold this little ridge. We're probably gonna end up rebuilding this carburetor eventually anyway, but for now we're just cleaning it up and getting it ready to rip. But we'll get into this build down the road here. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna buy a new one of these, of course, because that's the only way. But first off, this thing's gonna go into the ultrasonic cleaner. So let's get all these pieces apart. We can just pull all these hoses. Man, they're so old that they are just hard as a rock. Alright, so we can take these little clips here. Now these guys come off of there. And this hose looks like it was actually replaced one time. It's actually still a hose. Pretty flexible. But we're going to take that off. Ooh. We'll get this in the ultrasonic cleaner too. The rest of these guys. Alright, see, that's why we do this into the container. Still got some gas in there, I'm guessing. We didn't run all the gas out of it like we should have when we had it running. So, let's pull the bowl off. We got two screws here, one here and one here. And make note that the wire holder was on this screw right here. All right, now the gasket looks okay. I'm not even going to mess with it. Since we're not going to rebuild the carburetor right yet, we're just cleaning it up. We don't even have the rebuild kit or anything. Let's leave the gasket in there. If it falls off in the ultrasonic cleaner, cool, but I'm not going to mess with it right now. And I don't feel any need to take this off right now either. We're just going to put all this stuff right in the ultrasonic cleaner. The jets are what we're looking at here. Let's see what we got in here. So this is the main jet. And the needle jet holder is still hanging out down in there. It didn't pop out. Once again, I'm going to leave that in there. If it falls out on the ultrasonic cleaner, cool. If not, that's cool too. We're going to leave it in there. But it looks like it's clear. So now we can just pull this guy right here. This is the float. It just pops right out of there and then lifts up. There's no water. There's no fuel or anything inside of there. That's always good too. And then our float valve. It's a little hard. That's what she said. Woo! Oh man. All right. Anyway, I couldn't resist that one, but we're gonna get, like I said, when we get the rebuild kit, we'll get all of this stuff. But for now, we're just gonna plunk it all in the ultrasonic cleaner, clean it up, put it back together. But let's get this. Let's get the main out of the needle jet holder here. And what we're gonna do is, this is a 10 on the bottom and a 6 on the top, just like so. Now we can find out what we got in there. We got a 138. Let's see what we got for a slow jet. Now the slow jet is this guy right here. Slow jet, pilot jet, idle jet, whatever you want to call this. But this is, I call it the slow jet. Slow jet controls your idle speed. And the main jet is when you crack it open. It comes off the slow jet and runs the main. Alright, let's see what we got here. 45. So we got a 45 on the slow jet. 138 on the main, 45 on the slow jet. And yeah. Alright, let's get this. I'm going to leave that where it was. I think we should probably just check and see where it is though. So let's crank that in. So you can see it's sitting right there. So let's crank it in and see what we got. So we got a half, 1, a half, 2, so it's 2.5. So there's a half, 1, a half, 2, and a half. That's about where it was. So let's just leave that there. It'll clean up fine. I don't feel like taking it out of there. I don't want to mess with all the O-rings and all the crap that's in there. We'll do all that when we rebuild it. For now, just wanted to see where it was. We're at 2.5 out. So alright, that's all we're going to take off of this dog. And let's get it into the ultrasonic cleaner and get all this cleaned up. And yeah, then we'll put it back together. Put it back in the machine there, put everything back together, fire it up! Fire it up, let the engines roll! It's time to burn it down! Black Label Society, folks. That's my favorite band, in case you'll be hearing a lot of stuff about the Black Label Society along the way here. Yep, Zach Wilde. One of the guitarists used to be for Ozzy, and then has his band Black Label Society. We're the Phoenix chapter here. Oh yeah, bleed black, baby. Woo! Okay, now let's get this in the ultrasonic cleaner. Move on. All right, folks. So now we got all of our parts in here inside, and we're gonna put them in the ultrasonic cleaner right there. Yeah, and this is just a cheap ass Harbor Freight, like 35 bucks or something like that. But man, this thing has done wonders. It's not very big, but you can put like the full carburetor in there, and it might not cover the whole thing, but you can run this through a bunch of cycles and just keep flipping it over, and it does a wonderful job on even parts that are only halfway in there. And yeah, so let's get these up in there and get them clean. So first, we're just going to drop these guys right in there. And I have these little wires on there to keep everything wonderful. But yeah, let's see how much of this carburetor it covers. See, it's not quite covered. And we got a line right here. We don't want to go above this line that's on here, but let's add a little bit of water. A little bit of water's not going to hurt nothing. So let's get the float bowl in there. And we covered the float bowl all up, so let's get this baby running. And this thing only runs up to 480 seconds, which is 8 minutes. And I had it heated. It is now turned off because it's heated up. But basically you just push this button and now the water is hot, but it shuts off automatically when it gets up to temperature, which it was off, but we're going to turn it back on again to heat it up a little more while we're running these cycles. So let's set it to 480. Set it and forget it. Whoops. 480. And all we do is we turn it on. It's probably making my camera all weird and crazy, but you can just see all it does is just really fast, and it just shakes the dirt and rust and everything right on off of all this stuff. It gets in little crevices and cracks and places that you could never get into. And it cleans the whole inside, and yeah. Alright folks, our carburetor's done cleaning a bunch of our cycles. There's no need in recording all of that, but you got to take my word for it. I cleaned it. It looks beautiful. So let's get that doggone out of there, rinse it off, and start assembling this guy because it's hot. But look how shiny it is. It looks beautiful and it's hot, like I said. Ow! So yeah, we're going to put this into the sink and we're going to rinse it out with some water. And then we are going to take an air hose and we're going to blow it all out and get it dry. And then we're going to assemble this dog. So let's get all the pieces out of there and get them rinsed off. And oh yeah, I threw in an extra piece while you guys weren't looking. I got the air cleaner out of there and we're going to clean up the air cleaner as well. And this is the air cleaner bolt, and I figured, what the hell, this thing is running. Let's go ahead and throw that in there. Look at that. Beautiful. I love the ultrasonic cleaner. It does wonders on everything. So yeah, let's get these rinsed off. You just put that right down in there. Use the old hose. And you only can do this when your family is not around because the wife would probably not enjoy having you washing parts in your kitchen sink, but hey, that's the way I roll. I do it whenever I can get away with it. And yeah, I also use the kitchen oven to bake crankcases to put bearings in and out, and bake paint and everything else. And you just got to make sure you give yourself enough leeway to alleviate the smell and have lots of air freshener hanging out. Alright, now let's get back on out to the garage and get this baby assembled up. We'll get it all dried off with the air hose and make sure that we don't have any water hanging out in here to prevent the corrosion. And let's get it back together and get this dog fired up. Woo! Alright folks, check it out. All of our pieces are out of the ultrasonic cleaner and they look beautiful. Yeah. So everything's clean, so let's get this back together. Alright, so the first step we're going to do is we're going to put our choke back in. And it goes right back where it came from, right back here, like so. Screws back in there with our little 14 wrench. And this is a plastic fitting, so you don't need to get this super tight, just to make sure that it's snug and it's not going to back out again. And that's good enough. Alright, next, you got to make sure that everything is out of your jets, and let's put we got a 138 main. Let's put it back into the needle jet holder, and we'll just secure that back down again. Don't need to get that super tight either. These are just brass fittings, so just snug, like a bug in a rug, drinking a jug of moonshine. That's pretty snug. Alright, so now let's put this main jet and the needle jet holder right back in there. And that guy didn't fall out. It's nice and clear, nice and free, still in there, so we're just going to leave it in there. And then once again, we can snug this guy up. And again, these are brass fittings. You don't want them super tight. Just snug it down and that should be plenty. All right, and when we rebuild this, we have an aftermarket exhaust on there. We have an FMF pipe with a fatty expansion chamber, and we should be running a 42 pilot, and we have the stock 45 pilot. So I ordered some new ones, and when we rebuild this dog, we're gonna put it back together with the new slow jet. But for now, we're just gonna put it back in there and run it. And once again, brass fittings. Just want to snug it up. All right, and now we can put our float back on. All right, we're going to need to put our float valve back in, and the way that works is this guy. And this float valve does not matter which direction it goes, because the fitting is directly in the center anyway. So if you turn it this way, it's still in the center, still in the center. So it doesn't really matter which way you put it. But I'm going to put it with these guys facing out towards here. That way they don't get hung up on this thing. So you put this in like so. This drops in the hole, of course. And then I'm going to hold it against here. And then you put your float pin back in here. And you want to make sure it comes out the other hole. Boom. Or in the other hole, I should say, not really out it. And there you go. We're floated up, we're float valved up, we're float pinned up. Now we can put our float bowl back on. And since this gasket is really old, we're not rebuilding it yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little tiny bit of the Maxima waterproof grease, and I'm going to put a tiny little coat on here just to keep that thing sealed up good. And we'll clean up any of that excess so we don't get it in the bowl. See, we'll get that out of there. We don't want that in there. And wipe your excess on your pants. That's what I do. And there we go. See, it creates a nice little seal on there, and it also may loosen up that gasket and, you know, may help it seal a little better. I don't know if any of this is true or not, but it sounds pretty logical, and I feel pretty comfortable doing it, so this is the way I'm going to roll with this today. Next, we're going to fit this guy back together. Just like so. See, it's already sealed up decent, and I didn't even put the screws in yet. All right, and then the side with the little hose bracket holder dealio thingy goes right here. So just think of it as it's the side right by the gas line, right by the fuel line nipple, if you will. I think it goes over here. So we'll keep that straight with that. We won't let it turn. All right, now that guy's on there, let's put our hoses on. And this guy right here is going to get this hose right here. The long, kind of obviously a little bit fatter one than the other little fittings. So this guy, we're going to drop it down through here first. And then that's what this little piece of rubber is for. It stops it right there. And we'll flip it around. And this guy goes right onto this fitting, this nipple right here. And then we'll just flip this, we'll flip that clip down on there. And now this guy's secure. And the way this is going to work, everything's going to be facing out this direction. So next, while we're right here, This one we fixed with the heat. This is the one we fixed with the heat gun. We got the kink out, so it goes on the bottom down here. Snug that up there. Ooh, that's going to be so much better without that kink in it. And everything's coming up here again. And now we have this hose, which is going to fit on here. And see, we're still rolling out the back down here, the way we're supposed to be going. And now we can move on to the other side. So now we're going this direction. And that's going to be, this longer guy is going to fit on here. Like so. And then we have the overflow down here. We have the drain. And that is going to get this guy right here. And there you go. We're all facing basically out this way. So when we put it in the clip, they'll all sit just like so. And now we have the gas line, which is just going to fit right onto this nipple right here. We can spin this as we see necessary, of course. There we go. And now we're all hooked up. And we can get this back into the bike and get her fired up. Let's do it. But first, well, actually we're going to do that first, but we're also going to be putting the airbox back in at the same time because we have all that room sitting there. We'll get the airbox back in and check this out. Yeah, look at that. Cleaned that baby up. Remember how dirty that was. We got this cleaned up. We got this cleaned up right here. And check this out. The whole airbox. Super clean now. And the inside, super clean. And we cleaned up the boot. Yeah, let's get all this back together and fire it up. All right, folks. So now we're going to get our carburetor back in there. We're going to do that first because we got all this empty space right here. We might as well do the hardest thing while we have it all open like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed all these hoses down through here where they belong, starting with the longest one. And then we'll put that one in there, and then we'll keep on going through there, like so, with all this stuff. There. Jeez. Now, we got some of the hoses in there, most of them. There we go. All right, so we got that in there and that in there. These guys need to be bent down, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. Okay, now let's make sure this goes all the way in. And you also want to make sure that your little notch in the carburetor goes into the notch in the boot and lines up so it goes in the cut. Just like that. That's where we want to be. Now, I don't know if we should have put our slide in first, or if we can get it in there now. That sucks. So I'm thinking we should have put the needle in first. Okay. There we go. Now, let's see if I can get the screws in there. And it looks like that's a big old no. So, now that we got the slide in there, we can pull this back out. Which kind of sucks, but we got to do it. Okay. So now, there we go. All right. Now we can put this back into the boot, and once again, now I can show you, this is the little notch I was talking about right here. That little notch needs to go into the cut in the boot. Just like so. And now we have a hose clamp right here that we're going to tighten up. All right. Now we can get our airbox in there. All right, folks. So we got our nice cleaned air filter right there. It's all oiled up. So yeah, let's put this dog on in there. We got this assembled. Fits like this. And you remember, we have this loose over here. So this guy just basically slides in here like so. And this guy goes down right there and onto the carburetor. Okay, now that guy's on. Before we bolt all this stuff down, I think we should put the gas tank on and fire it up. All right, and then we just have one bolt right here with a big ass washer on there that goes over this rubber grommet. All right, folks, so I went ahead and I got everything bolted down. Air filter is all oiled up with the Maxima oil. And I got the fender on. I got the exhaust bolted up. Same way it came off. And I don't think that's stock either. I don't know if those clamps are supposed to be there. But I got that clamped up. They were a little rough, so I cleaned everything up, got it bolted back on, got the silencer back on. I actually hooked up this right here, as a matter of fact. That wasn't there before, but I used that off of my 400EX leftover parts. That's for the radiator bushing mount, and it fit into the exhaust mount perfect. So now we have a non-rattle rubber grommet in there, and yeah, that's going to be beautiful. Everything is super, super tight. So, all right. So we are ready to turn the gas on. Before we go any farther, now that we got the carb in there, let's fire this up and make sure that it runs right. And then we're going to drain the coolant, and we're going to change the coolant while we're out here. And then, if it runs good, we're going to drain it, because then we need to run it after we change the coolant. So let's get this baby fired up and see if it runs any good. And hopefully it doesn't leak, so let's turn the gas on and see if it leaks or not. You just want to take this little switch right here. I smell gas, but I don't see it. Well, we're not leaking anywhere, that's a good sign. And our choke doesn't stay up, so it's going to be kind of hard to choke it this direction. Uh-oh. Just died by itself. Huh. Why would it die after a little while of running nice? Why would it just decide, I'm done, I don't want to run any longer? We're gonna have to figure that out. That's what I was doing before. What? Woo! Look at that, folks. You know what the problem was? The gas cap. Of all things, the gas cap was causing it to vapor lock. All right, folks. Well, that'll teach you for buying a cheap-ass gas cap, won't it? Don't do it. It looked really cool, but, well, if it doesn't function, it doesn't function, right? So, note to all you people who will see this gas cap right here, right? This cheap Chinese piece of shit thing right here, don't buy it. It looks great, and it's actually really quite manufactured nice. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I think we're just going to take this off. Maybe it's this. Because that's a pretty good sized hole right there. Anyway, don't buy this thing. Don't buy it. Don't do it. Alright, folks, so it turns out it wasn't the gas cap itself, it was the vent at the top. Whoever designed that thing did not do a very good job there in China. So, yeah, we got the old, we just stole the old vent hose off of my 200X for the ride, and we're going to go ahead and just put it like that. I kind of dig it. Blue and green. That's the old Kawasaki colors anyhow. And we're going to be painting this thing too here eventually. We're going to be taking this motor out, and we're going to be taking this all the way down to the frame. We're not going to dig into the motor on this one, I don't think. We're going to rip it for a while and see how it runs. If it runs good, we're not even going to play around with the motor on this one. Maybe give it a few cosmetics and looks and stuff, and maybe update the clutch or something like that. But we're not gonna go full on into this motor. Not this time. Not with this bike. We may convert some stuff to the Woods bike. Weight the flywheel. Yeah, we're gonna get new rims, new tires. Yeah, we're gonna get this baby hooked up in the future here. That's coming up while we're doing this YFZ 450 build. We're gonna be mixing in some of that. So yeah, so you want to make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you click that all down there. You get notified whenever 11 Gallery ATV puts out the new videos. So yeah, you want to make sure you keep up with that, because we're going to be digging into this, and we're going to be continuing on with the YFZ 450, and we're also going to be sprinkling in some of the 400EX videos in there as well. We're going to do some more stuff to this guy. We're going to put graphics on it, and yeah, we're going to be doing some extra stuff there, or maybe doing exhaust and doing some stuff to the airbox and good stuff like that. This one's getting sold. That 400EX is listed on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace right now here in Phoenix, Arizona, if you would like to purchase it. Yeah. All right, let's move on here. All right, folks, now that we know it runs, let's before we put it back together, as long as we're all cracked down like this and we got a free workspace here, let's just drain the coolant and replace the coolant as well. And I've technically never even looked at the coolant in this bike since I bought it, which I haven't had it very long. I can tell there's some in there, but let's see what's going on with the coolant. So let's drain it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna crack this guy. Right here is one. And then we're going to crack this guy back here on the side of the cylinder. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put both of those drain bolts back in, of course. Then we're going to fill it up here, and then we're going to bleed it. Then we're going to crack this guy right here, right back here, the one with the Phillips screw on the top. And then we'll fire it up, and yeah, we'll tap the hoses and get all the air out, and then we'll do that one more time. And then we'll top it off, and that'll be that. So let's get to it. And we're gonna start with this guy. Oh, Jesus Christ, that was tight. All right, now of course my stand is in the way, so we're gonna get some of it on the stand, but such is life. Now let's open up this guy up here, the radiator cap. Oh, there we go. And make sure we get it all on the ground perfectly. God damn it. Well, lucky coolant doesn't really hurt much on the floor. It's just freaking water and some color. So the coolant looks pretty decent. It's not too bad. All right, folks. Now, ideally, you want to get a new crush washer, but I don't have any. I forgot to get them, and in this case, this one time, I'm going to just put this back in again, and I think we'll be all right. But ideally, you want to, every time you drain these, you want to get new crush washers. They aren't very expensive, but I ordered myself a kit on Amazon, just a ton of crush washers, so I never have this problem again. But for right now, we're just going to put it back in, and this gets torqued to 48 inch-pounds. 48. All right, folks, now we got one right here in the side of the cylinder, and this one is kind of in a weird spot. You can't get a container back there, and yeah. So here's what I'm going to do. I have a towel, a really thick towel, just set up right here. And that was from cleaning up the last spill that I had. So anyway, this will come in handy. It'll just drip down and hopefully just absorb into this big thick towel. But otherwise, it's just coolant once again. It's really not that much of a menace. And it's just another 10 millimeters, so let's get that guy cracked on out of there. And hopefully we can get in there. There we go. And once again, ideally, you would want a new crush washer here, but we're going to have to get away with using this one. Again, it looks in pretty good shape. But a crush washer is exactly what it is. It gets crushed every time you tighten it down, so that's why you want a brand new one. Alright, now we can put this drain plug back into the cylinder, and the one in the cylinder gets torqued to 78 inch-pounds. So the water pump is 48 inch-pounds and the cylinder drain is 78 inch-pounds. So let's get this guy back in there. Easier said than done. Alright, this is impossible. You can't get it back in there. You're going to have to just leave this bolt out and just replace the fluid every 10 seconds while you're riding. Or you can put a strap on a helmet with endless supply of coolant on your head. This bolt is a pain in the ass for some reason. I cannot get it to go in there. So, we're going to try one more time because I'm getting mad. And I don't want to throw the thing. I like my KX100. I don't want to throw it out in the road. So, let's go from the top over here. See if we can't just get this to bend a little bit out of the way. There it goes. Woo! Okay, well that was one of the worst bolts in the history of freaking working on shit. That was worse than a pivot bolt. Just kidding. It was not. Anyway. 78 inch-pounds. Let's get this guy torqued. 78. We got it. Woo! You know what? Since we got an old crush washer, I'm going to go just up to 80, just even. There, and I want a tiny bit past that, just because I feel safer that way. And it's not going to hurt nothing. All right, so let's get this baby filled up. All right, so since we're only trail riding here, and since we're not going for the land speed record, we're going to go ahead and just use some cheap-ass coolant. But you can use your own discretion as to what you feel like you're doing with this coolant change. If you're racing or doing something like that, you probably want to get some better coolant and stuff like that because you're going to be revving it up higher and you're going to get hotter and stuff like that. But anyway, that's a whole different discussion. You guys can use whatever coolant you feel necessary. I'm not going to make any recommendations on that. I just use cheap stuff because I just trail ride and I change it a lot more often than most people would. And anyway, yeah, I'm just using the old this crappy stuff right here from where did I get it from? AutoZone. All right, let's see if we can get it in there without spilling. I should use a funnel, but you know what? I don't feel like it. Let's see how we do. All right, so you want to fill it just under the, just up to the brim down at the bottom of this. So you want to fill it up right to the edge of this guy right here. And we're right there, you can see. And now we have one more step. We're going to go ahead and bleed the air out of it. And we're going to do that by cracking this dog right here. And you don't want to put the lid on yet. Don't put the cap on. Don't put the cap on the radiator yet. We're going to bleed the air out of this guy right here. And then you still don't want to put the cap on. We're going to run it with the cap off. And we're going to tap on the hoses, get the air out, and watch up here. And we're going to make sure that all the air is out. And once we don't see any more air, boom, top it back off, put the cap on, and we're done with that part. All right, let's bleed it. Let's get this guy cracked right here and get the air out. So what you want to do is loosen this. But you don't want to take it out. You can hear it. So you just want to let that go like that until all the air has come out. There we go, we got a steady stream now. We can put it back down. There's no torque spec for this in the manual. It just says crack it, bleed it, tighten it back down again. So we're just gonna tighten it down. That should be good there. All right, now we got the cap off still. Let's fire it up and make sure all the air bubbles are out of this dog. All right, let's do it. All right, now we're just gonna fire it up and we're gonna watch through here and make sure all the air bubbles are gone. And we're gonna tap on the hoses while it's running to get all the air up through this thing. So let's get her done. There we go, all the air seems to be, oh yeah, all the air's out. So let's put the lid on now. Actually, let's top it off and put the lid on. And there we go, coolant done. So let's get this baby all back together and take it out for a test rip. Woo, hells yeah. All right, folks, check it out. It's all back together. And we're gonna take it for a rip and see how it goes. I put the stock gas cap back on because I just don't trust that Chinese piece of crap. That was causing a vent, vapor lock there because it wasn't getting enough vent. So yeah, we got the big old Elba tube on there now, the vent tube, and the stock gas cap, so that should make it vent just fine. And we got all the plastics back on, exhaust back on, yeah, got all the bolts replaced that needed replacing. Went through my kit of bolts and I found the right sizes. Actually, I matched all the OEM sizes to the diagram, so I got everything back the way it's supposed to be. Except for we don't have the collars. I noticed in the diagrams that there's washers in this bike and there's supposed to be little collars that fit inside of those little holes in the plastics. So we will order up those when we do the build and we will get everything back to stock perfectness. So yeah, so let's take it for a rip and see how it does. I'm sure that this 400EX is getting tired of holding it up. Look at that. My new friends, man. My 400EX build, and it's holding up my KX100. So we'll give this guy a break and take this guy for a rip and see how it goes. Let's do it. All right, folks. Let's take this KX100 for a rip and see how we did. Let's fire it up. Well, there you go, folks. Runs pretty good. It doesn't idle quite the way it should right yet because I get the new jets tomorrow. We bumped everything up for that FMF exhaust in the carburetor. I put the needle up on the second groove from the top, and the air screw is about 2.5 out, and it should be in a little bit, but we have the 45 pilot jet, and we are going to change that to a 42 when we get it, and it should idle perfectly. But everything else is set, and it's just the idle isn't quite right, but it's not going to be until we get that new jet in there. So yeah, there it is.
We almost ate it on that rock. Man, I'm gonna have to put this thing away before I kill myself. God damn.